Yeah. What's up, everybody? So happy to have y'all here with us today. Another beautiful rainy Friday we got. Welcome to the Resource Network podcast, hosted by the Cincinnati Minority Business Assistance Center here at the African American Chamber of Commerce. I'm holding down the fort today. Ms. Deborah is out on duty, but my name is Ricky Pleasant. I'm the financial advisor for the Cincinnati MBAC, and I got a close friend of mine, we'll put it that way. Before I fully introduce you, I just want to tell this quick little story real quick. So we got Sean Simpson here. I'm a Mortar alumni as well, and I remember doing my interview for Mortar, and I was really nervous because I know the pedigree that Mortar has, and so I was able to interview with Sean, and he made me feel like my idea was going to work. I didn't know that I got into the program until much later, but after the conversation and just feeling the energy, I was like, I really hope I get into the program, and I did. And from there, Sean has always been a advocate. He's been somebody to be able to lean on, so I'm really excited to have you here right now, Mr. Sean Simpson.
Yeah, appreciate it. And I
yes,
appreciate
sir.
Those kind words too. Man.
Oh, hey, what's your new role over there? You just got a new job over there.
So I'm officially our director of expansion.
Okay.
Big things that come with that. No, it's just words.
But that's a big deal though. So just in general, just give us a little bit of history on Mortar, and then how your new role plays into what Mortar is going to be looking like for the next couple of years.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate that. So Mortar, we've been around for 10 years, celebrating 10 years of support for historically marginalized entrepreneurs, not just in Cincinnati, but nationally. We started out in Over the Rhine just when that neighborhood was under its transformation. We noticed that there were some gaps in the different resources that were available to people who were interested in small businesses. And we also noticed that the businesses that were popping up in that neighborhood weren't necessarily reflective of the people that were still living there. So we asked ourselves, why is that? Is it a lack of resources? Is it a lack of opportunity? Is it a lack of education? Landed on D, all of the above. So that's how Mortar was created. Started off with 3 founders, Alan Woods, William Thomas, and Derek Brazil. And they started with just the small vision of teaching a 10-week course using somebody else's materials, how to start a business. Ended up creating their own curriculum that was culturally competent, that really spoke the language of the people that we were trying to serve. And 10 years later, here we are still doing it in 10 markets. We're on our 42nd cohort, 469 total graduates for the program.
Wow.
So yeah, man,
Yeah.
it's been a journey. So that kind of leads me to where I'm at now. So being our director of expansion, I'm in charge of getting this program stood up in different markets. Right now, we're currently in the big cities in Ohio. We represent Columbus, Cleveland, Akron. We have hopes to get some boots on ground in Dayton. We've even gone as far out west as Seattle. We've got some partner sites down in Galveston, Texas. Got some representation over in Indy, Milwaukee, Kansas City, Tulsa, Oklahoma. And we've got a lot of good things coming up.
That's exciting. And for those of you that don't know or that would be interested in the program, it's an annual cohort. Last year it was 2 cohorts, and then this year's 2 cohorts again. But if you are interested in figuring out how to level up your business or get from point A to point B, Mortar is a good resource and a good opportunity for you to check out for sure. Yeah. So the role that you play at Mortar with expansion, how does that relate to directly working with the entrepreneur? I know you work with the alumni as well, but explain that connection.
Yeah, so I like to say that as a person who represents expansion now, it's really good to get your hands in all parts of our program, whether that be working with the academy, working with the alumni, helping to operate our brick pop-up model, helping with our Iron Chest Fund. It's super important to get your hands in all those because it lends you to be able to talk more confidently about the program in different markets. Post 2020, there's been a lot of other incubator type programs that have come up nationally. Back when we started, it was very minimal, especially very minimal ones that cater to the type of audiences we cater to. Now you can find those just about on every block if you're really looking hard enough. So having my hands in every part of the program before moving into this expansion side really gave me an in-depth understanding of everything that we do and how differently we do it than everybody else. And it just leads to more cogent selling. Like, I'm able to really truly talk about the depth of the program. I'm able to create buy-in. I'm able to reflect the stories of the entrepreneurs that I've met in our market and relate those stories into how other markets can really take what we built and flesh it out there and provide that same type of support to the people within their communities. One of the important things I like to say about our expansion model is we're a liquid and the different expansion sites are a container. And those different containers can take on different shapes, but our liquid program can fit in any shape you want. And like I said, being able to experience all parts of our program has been able for me to tell that story in a competent way.
That's really good. And in working with entrepreneurs in different locations, do you find that some of the issues, or first off, what are some of the main issues that you see the entrepreneurs are having? And then as you go to these different locations and are trying to work to expand, do you see that some of those problems remain, or are there different versions of those issues that may pop up because of the location where the entrepreneur is?
Yeah, man. One thing that's global for all entrepreneurs, especially entrepreneurs that are represented in our communities, is access. Whether that be access to information, access to resources, access to capital, access to knowledge. There has historically been gatekeeping within our communities. Once a few people get their hands on it, they guard the information and aren't willing to share that information within their circles. I think that's what makes our program so different, is we're willing to share not only the experiences that we've created here in Cincinnati, but we're able to pass on that other information not only to the other program administrators, but we're able to pass that information on to the other program participants as well. So that's one thing we like to say when we do move into different markets. We're not here to take away anything. We're here to pass on and share. And yeah, access is that really big thing that people are having issues in, not just in Cincinnati, but nationally. Like, there will always be a shortage of resources that are funneled to our communities. There will always be a shortage of resources that are funneled to minority entrepreneurs. And that's just what we're here to combat. We're here to make sure that we can even out the playing field by pointing people in the right directions, getting them in rooms that they might not necessarily be able to get into without some type of advocacy support or without something that's been around for 10 years to talk on their behalf.
Right. And so what would you say is the level of importance for you for community outreach and relationship management in relation to being a business owner?
Oh, it's paramount. It's paramount. Nobody can do it without being visible. Like, you actually need to have people see your face to be a successful business owner, to be a successful entrepreneur. You can have all the big ideas in the world. You can be able to solve world hunger tomorrow and have it in the back of your head. But unless people really know you and people see you as a credible resource or a credible mouthpiece, or even like build a personal relationship with you, they're not going to trust you to solve world hunger. So you really need to make it a point to be present. One of the things I like to challenge all of our entrepreneurs that come through the Mortar program is to build up their network, because their network is their net worth at the end of the day. So I always like to encourage being as visible as possible. One really good example of just visibility is one of our very first graduates, Kristen Bailey, owner of Sweet Meats Barbecue. So Kristen is a part of everything, like any type of entrepreneurship incubator or accelerator she's been through, any type of support group for foodies, she's in that, any type of restaurant groups, food truck groups, different marketing groups, different UC programs. Her hands and face are in all of that. That's why you always see her in any type of branding they do for other small business incubators in Cincinnati, because her presence is that strong. She's really gone out of her way to be present, to be visible, and always reps her brand. I never see her without a Sweet Meats t-shirt, right, chef coat, right, apron, jacket, hat, merch. Everywhere she goes, she takes her brand with her, and that's super important. That's half of the branding battle, is that presence and just being part of everything.
Yeah, Christian, even through the Cincinnati MBAC, is a client of ours as well. So she does find herself finding all those different places. I do think that's important too, because we kind of get used to being in our own bubble sometimes. And so being able to go outside of that and be able to expand your network is really important when it comes to trying to take it to that next level as a business owner and an entrepreneur.
For sure. And I think that's a trap a lot of our entrepreneurs get to fall into when they first start their business. They automatically think that their friends and family or their close inner circle is their only customer, so they get caught trying to only sell to their friends and family. Your friends and family can't be your only customer. They can only support you so far. They also have limited budgets. They have limited resources. They can only funnel so much fun money to support your small business. That's why you got to step outside your circle, be in different places, meet different faces, see different people, experience different things, be able to talk to how your product can really help somebody else outside of your circle. That's paramount.
Yeah, that's good. So in doing this, the amount of years that you've been doing this, you're coming up in it, what are some of the strategies that you've learned from business owners that you've interacted with?
Yeah, one of the things I picked up is just always be a lifelong learner, always be willing to be coachable and try on different things. When I got into this space, I knew absolutely nothing about entrepreneurship. My background is in student affairs and higher education. I went to school to be a college administrator, whatever that means to whoever. Fortunate to be out of that world. Very fortunate to be out of that world. Even then transition into a career in nonprofit work with Public Allies. I never thought that I would take that experience and transition it to working with small businesses. But yeah, the thing that I've really picked up is always be able to try on something new, learn a new skill, and be coachable. Even if you don't think it's a lesson that you can take away from at the moment, all knowledge is good knowledge. I'll take an example. So I don't necessarily work in marketing and branding, but a lot of our entrepreneurs come to us for marketing and branding support. So I took it upon myself to go to a class down at Union Hall just on marketing and branding and how to build out profiles on who your customers are. And just by those few hours in that class, I feel like I walked away with a lot of good knowledge that I can pass forward to the entrepreneurs who come in. So one of the new things I'm looking to add to our SKU of products is being able to build out profiles for our customers, or for our small businesses customers, and really help them lock in on who they need to be approaching and how to get that message across. But yeah, just always be willing to be coachable, always be willing to learn, always show up in spaces even when you don't think you can get anything from that space. I guarantee there's some small nugget of anything in that place for you.
Change your whole perspective on everything. The lifetime learner point is really present with me right now, because I was speaking with a client yesterday and giving an example of a couple of the people that I've worked for who ended up being multimillionaires or things like that. And one thing that I noticed from them was that they always continue to learn their industry. They didn't just get to a certain point and they were okay. They understood that they had to continue to progress, grow, change with the times. And I think people don't recognize that business leaders do that as often as the people that are trying to come up into whatever the business is. So taking that thought process and always being willing to learn something is really important. It helps you continue to get to the level that you want to get to.
For sure, and I think that's the core of what pivoting really means. I think a lot of people hear that word pivot and they think, ooh, I need to completely stop what I'm doing and go in a new direction because this isn't working. That can be the case, but I guarantee more often than not, like pivot just means learning the nuances of your industry. Like, you got to look at people like Netflix. Like, they didn't completely stop the movie game. They just stopped how they did the movie game. Right. They started by mailing DVDs to people. They saw that technology was moving in a different way. It's like, oh no, our bread and butter can be streaming. So like, they still stayed in line what their original intention was to do, which was to provide entertainment to people at their doorstep. They just changed the method that they did it. That was the pivot, and that came from being able to be coachable and continuously learning the industry, continuously learning new technologies, being ahead of what's next.
Yeah, that's a good example too. Do you feel like, because I hear this a lot of times, and I was once one of these believers in this thought process that there is a lack of resources for black businesses, women-owned businesses, things like that. Is there any truth to that myth, or do you think that there's another thought process that we should have surrounding what resources look like, specifically here in Cincinnati?
I think there is truth to that. I think we all know the statistic about venture capital. Only 2% of people who receive, or only African Americans only receive 2% of all venture capital in the nation. So there is some truth to a lack of resources, especially when it comes to financial capital. But I think one of the things we get stuck in that is we use that as a barrier that we don't try to overcome. Like, we use it as a, oh, woe is me, I've hit a roadblock, I don't think I'll be able to move forward with this, when we should be using it as an empowering moment. It's like, oh, well, if I can't get out the mud that way, I'll just hustle a little harder on this side and be able to support myself. And then I'll put myself in a position where I am able to have access to these resources. A lot of that comes with just the baseline knowledge of what's out there, knowing different alternatives, knowing about different organizations like MVAC, knowing about different funding options like ECDI. Shout out to ECDI right now. They're running a 2% loan special. Yes. So if you do need some capital, this is a free plug for them. Look into that, because that's rare. That's rare. 2% funding for a small business,
right?
Up to $5,000 or $10,000 depending on what stage you are. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just have to be willing to do that research. If you're not eligible for venture capital, if you're not eligible for traditional style lending from a bank, if you're not necessarily ready for SBA lending at the moment, do some research and find other alternatives. Figure out other ways to get how you need to get it. If that even means you're hustling a little bit harder in your 9 to 5 to squirrel some money away until you've saved up enough to put up like a 10% that you would need for SBA funding, you'll just have to grind a little bit harder. But yeah, I feel like a lot of our people just get discouraged too early. Like, you have to be able to look around. You got to be able to do some research. Have some guts. Have some grit.
Yeah, there it is, that research piece, because although one door may be closed, there may be a bunch of other things that open up. A window might open up. Another door might be cracked. You might be able to sneak your way in that way. Yeah. And you mentioned a couple of the partners. You mentioned ECDI, us here at the African American Chamber of Commerce, a bunch of other places as well. And like you said, it's just doing your research. Mm-hmm. So just looking that information up and then seeking it out. And then I don't think that there's ever an issue of just calling a lot of these places and being like, I know you all might not do this, but do you know somebody that does?
Exactly.
Because there's a very high possibility that you'll be able to get the answer that you need.
Yeah, again, that speaks to that being present piece. Like, I guarantee if you show up at some of these networking events, you'll get in connection with somebody who does know a little bit more about these different resources that exist. One good example of that is we're currently working on something called The Collective, which is a combination of representation from all the small business support in Cincinnati. That includes that ECDI, that includes that African American Chamber, that includes SBA, that includes the city of Cincinnati. We did a town hall to talk about just the different resources that people might not be privy to. And there was a lot of knowledge shared, not only from the panelists in that room, but from the other people that were present in that room about experiences that they've had when applying for funding. Mm-hmm. It's just that being present piece. It's super important. you never know what you're going to get from somebody. You never know what doors are going to be open for you just by showing up somewhere.
Yeah, you gotta make that sacrifice sometime
Yeah.
to show up to some of these things, because you might, like you said, you might not never know who you're gonna run into or what information you're gonna end up getting that's gonna help you be successful. That's good. What is your long term, your vision? Not Moyer's, but yours.
My vision.
Yes, a more economically inclusive Cincinnati.
Yeah, I think we need more access to non-recourse funding. For those of you who don't know, non-recourse funding, I'm talking specifically grants. I would love to see more grant funding for people. Loans are a great tool for small businesses. They can give them the money to catalyze what they're trying to do, but it also creates a burden in people's operation. I think we could get a lot farther faster if we remove some of the burden of thinking about having to repay people and go more based off of character track record. Perfect example of that, we have a partnership with an entity called Common Future, who have given us a line of credit that we can use for some of our entrepreneurs, and it's same as cash line of credit, so very reasonable terms as far as payback. They have up to 10 years to pay it back, 0% interest, so it truly is same as cash. And it's really freed up a lot of our entrepreneurs to start projects that they might not have been able to do before. An example of that is we have Christina Davis Cookie Collection. She was one of the recipients of some of that funding, and she was able to launch her food truck safely, knowing that she had a little bit more flexibility to repay this loan. And now she's killing it. She's going through the Brewing the American Dream incubator. I think she's finishing up the 10,000 Small Businesses incubator. The food truck is doing numbers. She's launching in multiple Kroger locations. Just that quick infusion of non-recourse capital has allowed her to do so much. And I think Cincinnati and other entities who have funding models, if they really want to make a change, we should start really focusing on non-recourse funding.
Yeah, and I think that's a long-term conversation too, in terms of you might not be getting the interest back, but the amount of economic stability and growth that will happen because somebody was able to use those funds to, like, and you gave a perfect example. Now it's all these different streams of revenue that's happening right now, right?
Yeah.
And then it's a potential to hire. That's that's a taxable thing for the city to be able to receive funds from that because somebody is hiring somebody. I think that's really important to consider. That's a really good, because a lot of people are always looking for funds, right? And so grants and loans that are 0% are most preferable. I believe.
Absolutely. And if they had less hoops to jump through to get that money, that'd be even better. Even better.
Right. Yeah, that's good. So we're about to get ready to close here. What is your final advice that you have to entrepreneurs?
Yeah. So the biggest thing for me is a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck up on thinking about the what's next and never really doing the what's next. I have a lot of people who we've worked with who keep saying, yo, I got this thing I'm working on, but I don't think I'm ready to launch. Or I've been thinking about doing this thing for such a long time, but I don't think I'm ready to add this. Sometimes it's best to just jump in. The best way to learn is by making mistakes. And if you're not making those mistakes because you don't think you're ready, all you're really doing is wasting time. I really want more people to jump in, have that grit, have that trust that it's going to work out. Try it on. There's absolutely nothing wrong with trying it on. To all my entrepreneurs who are out there that are scared to take that leap and try that next thing, just do it. Think about it. Do it safely.
Right.
Do it safe. I'm not saying throw $10,000 into a new thing, but if you can do it in a safe manner and you've got that net built in for yourself and you've got some runway, try it.
Yeah, that's really good. Thank you, man. Before we get out of here, I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping. As you know, the Cincinnati Minority Business Assistance Center is here at the African American Chamber of Commerce. My role specifically, I help with getting your financial statements together, figuring out funding opportunities, and then different workshops. We have AOL, Assets Over Liability, Financial Literacy class for small business owners going right now. We just completed week 3. It's been an amazing class. I'm really excited about being able to facilitate that. We also provide help with getting you state certified. So you can get your MBE, WBE, Edge, or your veteran certification. So make sure you holler at us and check us out if you need help with that, because that's a potential factor in receiving some procurement for some job opportunities through the state and funding as well. So once again, I'd like to thank Sean for coming out and having this conversation with us. I really appreciate it.
Of course. If I can I plug a couple
of
things?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Go ahead.
Cool. So, like I mentioned before, we're celebrating our 10-year anniversary this year. We have our 10-year gala anniversary coming up on May 17th. It is going to be a time to be had. We're throwing it back to the 70s. VIP tickets get you access to a cocktail lounge, cigar bar. We have raffle items from not only our alums, but from FC Cincinnati, Xavier. We have a package from New Riff that you can bid on. It's going to be a great time. You can learn more about our gala on wearemortar.com. Also follow us at We Are Motor on Facebook, IG, LinkedIn, and we're looking forward to partying with y'all on the 17th.
That's what's up. I'm gonna be there too, so make sure I get my fake afro out and we can have a good time.
Fake afro's great.
But yeah, thank you again for coming on here, man. Really appreciate you always, bro.
Of course.
And hey, tell your people to continue to check out the Resource Network. Let people know that we on here talking about business. And if you got any ideas or suggestions that you want to share or want to hear from us, from our experts, please send a DM to the Cincy MBAC Instagram, and we'll make sure we try to get that into the show. Until then, see you next time, y'all.
You had a little house bop.
That's what's up.
I rock with the little house bop. I'm like, hey.
That's